are you looking right now?
I'm looking at you on a television screen. Does it
Okay.
look normal?
Look, it will to be fine. But
Okay.
if you want
I
to,
could look is that better?
yeah, if you look straight into the camera that you have,
Okay.
right, then,
Yeah.
then you're yeah, that's great.
Okay.
That if you look there, whatever you say when you're saying it to there will be look like you're looking at the audience, which
Okay.
is great.
Okay.
All righty, okay. Here we go, take two. So, welcome back, Angela. I'm so glad to have you back here today. And how's the past going?
It's great. You were having a great time in the past, so you already know what you're missing. So we look forward to being where you are tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that it's really when someone comes on from the States, it's or the other side in Europe. Oh, it's out there in the future. And I got to say to you, when someone first said to me, I'm like, what the heck are they about? But it's bright and sunny down under in the future. So, look, firstly, I just want to say, Angela, thank you for coming back and joining me. Very grateful to have your time. And, your given your schedule and what you're doing in the world right now, I know that it takes a lot. So, firstly, thank you for coming back.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. My primary concern is spreading awareness. So people like you are so important in my world. So I appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. And as those of you who did listen to our last episode, you'll know exactly why I invited Angela to come back. But if you did not, you certainly want to go back and listen to the first episode that Angela and I did have, which was to talk a lot about the work she's doing with the 343 Fund. But Angela, we're here to talk about you. Because at the end of our last conversation, it started to occur to me that you're a remarkable human. And I know it's very easy to say I'm just an ordinary girl because, like you, I'm just an ordinary girl. But I wanted to bring you back because I couldn't help. We were already talking an hour, and I was like, mate, this woman's got too much more to share. So today we're talking about you and more about what it is that you're doing in other areas of your life beyond the 343. And I'm just going to jump straight to asking you about exactly what it is outside of that you do in business.
Wow, gosh. Okay, what do I do in business? First of all, I have no idea what I'm doing in business. So we start with that. I am by no means a business expert. I am a college dropout and from Oklahoma that moved to New York and just pretty much just never listened to anybody that told me I couldn't do anything and did everything that I wanted to do. My primary concern was always that I don't have a boss, that I need to be my own boss in life. I knew that from just a really young age. I think you meet kids that are like that, where you're like, this girl or this boy is gonna run a company or they are gonna be in charge of something. And I feel like I was always in that category. So that was my primary concern. And uh, outside of that, I found once I became a boss that people just really liked working for me for a couple of reasons. I don't think that anybody's job should be their identity, um, period. Some people might fight me on that. I've seen it happen. I've been there before, and I've kind of evolved past that to be able to have this. I'm actually technically retired. I always laugh. On paper, I'm a retired person, but I do run these businesses, and everything I do is by choice and it's for fun.
Mm.
And I try to take creators and show them that they can be their own boss too. And so I've got this retail store that's in the middle of Long Beach, New York, and it's not online or anything. And there's no pressure for social media. There's no response to emails, maybe occasionally, but it's just not at the top of our list. And you got to be there to see it. And it's just an experience, and that's kind of the old part of life that I like to cultivate. That this is special, that kind of one of a kind. Uh, if you're in our store, then your pieces are not anywhere else in town. They're just are kind of in there, and it's just to make it special, to make what you do special. You're one person. We only order from makers and independent artists, and we hold meetings that are just free for people that we see that have great potential. And we just say, hey, uh, if you're either they'll ask us for a meeting, or hey, if you're open to listening, this is kind of what we think. You don't have to take our advice or anything. And again, I don't have a degree in any of this, but uh, I've never not started a business or seen a road to something that I wanted to do. I started selling retail out of my cousin's window when I was 10 years old. Just kind of, he had OCD. We were a perfect combination. He had OCD, was always looking to get rid of clutter, and I was always looking to make a buck. So we made some sort of agreement, I'm sure. I'm not sure if it was I get 100% and you get rid of the clutter. It's probably something like that. And I would go make flyers and just go around to all the neighborhood kids. And I don't remember just ever not having a job. I think I learned really young that I need money, I learned that money was this something that was being used to control me, and something that was in the way or necessary for me to get what I wanted. And at that time, it was probably frozen yogurt from the, the corner store. It was probably something that simple that I thought, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to get that, and without any of it to start. So I'm kind of a master at that. How do you get that without anything to start?
Mm. So when did you
And
start? So just a question about your retail business. Your When you say retail, is it fashion retail? Is it homewares retail? Is it a mix of that? What is the actual, like, if I was to walk in the store, what am I there to experience and buy?
so if you're to walk into this particular store, the Codfish Cowboy, it's on Park Avenue in Long Beach, New York, a great beach town right outside New York City. And it has just a total vibe in there. It's all artists. I'm trying to think of something to compare it to, and something I think worldwide that's kind of famous. Maybe have you guys heard of Etsy over there in
Uh-huh.
Australia? Okay.
Yes.
So back in the day, Etsy was like just this awesome maker platform where they just crafted all these artisans. So I say it's like early Etsy,
Mm-hmm.
where we just have this niche of people that come in. We test market for some people that are some cool brands that have made it, that are little hometown heroes. One of them's Fro York. She's probably Jess at Fro York's probably my favorite hometown story. She was a designer. I went to college, graduated from Long Beach High School, came in and asked, hey, could you test market my jewelry line? She was designing for, the big wigs. Her designs were like Target and Urban Outfitters, so she was doing pretty good. And she knew what was selling, and she made this line called Fro York, and she's got celebrities wearing her stuff now, and she test markets in Codfish Cowboy, so in our little hometown. And seeing stuff like that happen is just so cool. Then another cool story is you get moms that have children, that start there. Even Max Hammer are a example of that in our hometown. And his mom, Eve, is, hometown artist, just really cool. Um, One of my favorites. And then her son, Max, is this 13-year-old that's just this creative genius. So watching that come out and be able to foster him as a place for him to know, hey, at 13 years old, I can make something in my own brain on with a piece of paper, and I can go make some money off that. I can go buy ice cream a couple stores down, and that might be the best day of your life when you're
Mm-hmm.
13 years old. I don't know. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
mine a few
Wow.
times. So,
Yeah.
and then just go from there. So it's that everybody hates when the beach time's over in Long Beach, in the town that we live in, and they don't want to get on the train and go to the city during the summer. So there's nothing more liberating than saying, well, I don't have to do that. My boss isn't going to make me. So
Mm-hmm. How
try
long
to
have you
free
had
people from corporate
it?
oppression,
Yeah.
unnecessary corporate
Yeah.
oppression.
Yeah. How long ago did you start that business?
I think I filed for I got my uh, papers, my lease, and the at the end of 2015.
Hmm.
So I'll be coming up on my 10th year, I guess, this
Wow.
year.
Wow.
Yeah. It's never not made money. From it's never even been like a close, like it's not going to make it. And we've been through the trying times.
Mm.
Um, I had an expansion actually during COVID and did switch everything on over to online. But there's one thing that you can do in hometown retail, and that's you can really you could get the people that love the business to really support the business and help you grow. So um, during COVID, our town just really helped small business, and it's one of the joys of cultivating community in your town and developing hometown heroes and hometown artists. It gives to the cultural flavor of the town, and that makes everything better. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well done on writing it through that. That must have been horrifying, that experience at that time, because I know you guys in particular were, well, it was just debilitating for a lot of people, but certainly for those who did have their own business, right?
yeah, it was it was trifling, I think, for the world. So retail
Mm.
was no exemption. And I tell everybody, retail is not for the first of all, it's got a horrible profit margin. Just at the end of the day, if you're going into retail, don't be going into retail, to make substantial profit. And you got to ride the waves in retail, and it has to be done for the love. And the Codfish Cowboy is done for the love, and we are using it to morph into other things. I just got the store next door. It just went out, and I took over the lease, and we're expanding, and we're making a hometown apothecary because that was another thing that we saw was a need for natural modalities, natural choices and options on a hometown level. Um, so we've been learning a lot about what our town needs, and that was another thing. And then I've got another project down the road, kind of the same block, same city block. I've got another project working a coffee shop. So I have two women business partners, and they're just hustlers, man. And I just saw them, and I just knew one of them just has this childhood dream, and she knows what to do on the business side, and she's got a culinary degree. And then the other one is just a straight hustler, where she doesn't have um that that business, that analytical mind, where I don't have that numbers, that analytical mind either. And it's so important to know that you need just a combination of everything to make
Mm.
a business work, and to know your strengths and weaknesses so that you can grab people that have your
Mm.
strengths. And these women have strengths that I don't have, and one of them is just a really great brewer. So it's so important in the coffee business to have somebody that knows how to brew. So I've
Mm.
got these great women, and we're building this. It's not just a coffee shop. It's just going to be a really cool place, a cool workspace. We're going to kind of develop the back, just give people an area to hang out in town that's vibey, and get beverages that are good for you. So
Mm.
my idea is, if I'm going to live in a town, I'm going to make that town, especially if I'm going to live on an island, I'm going to make that my island. Well, it's going to have what I need, at least,
Yes.
to survive, and hopefully it's what other people want, and at the same time. And
Mm.
yeah.
That's really incredible. I mean, I think what I love, I mean, look, there's a few things that I'm hearing, but look, I think that the fact that you're pointing to this uniqueness, I think, about what you bring, everybody has their space and what they're good at, and what seems very evident is you're really good at mobilizing people. Even if you're not the person who's potentially, like with that coffee thing, right? Well, she's got this thing, she's got this other, but you see things, you see potential, like you see potential for something to grow, and that role that you're playing is very instrumental to that future. not having the mathematical side or anything, but like you say, it takes knowing your strengths and knowing what you're great at. And you don't run these things alone. These things don't happen alone. They happen in partnership with people.
Yeah, I don't even drink coffee. So, yeah, so it's like no idea if this is a good cup of coffee or not, it all tastes just not great to me. But people love coffee, and
Yeah.
there's just become these things that are so important to me, and one of it is access to mold-free coffee. Just from my own healing experiences, kind of where all these things, alternative healing modalities, that there's access to an apothecary in my town where people could have choice of these things. I'm really big on not gatekeeping things.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, if I know something, then, and I learned it a lot of times out of the country or out of the state or somewhere weird that people in my town aren't going to probably be accessing, but for instance, I sell cacao at my store, and cacao is a great caffeine alternative. I don't drink caffeine, but I drink cacao. I love cacao. Uh, and it's got all these antioxidants, and it provides kind of the same thing that coffee would without that crash from the stimulant. But it's a heart opener, and it's great to start your day with some cacao. It's really good. It's a heart healthy thing you can do. And I learned about that in Guatemala. How are people going to learn about that? So I feel like if I have a store, a retail store, and you can go purchase that cacao, and if
Mm-hmm.
I've got a coffee shop and you can order that cacao that I enjoy in Guatemala there, and you can learn about that, um, then that's pretty cool I want to be on that island.
Yes. Yes, I think there's a lot to learn from what you're saying, and like if we take that thinking, you're as an entrepreneur without a boss able to carve out and take actions that allows you to create environments that work for you. And I think the challenge, whether it's a challenge or opportunity, Angela, that for those who are inside an organization, especially in corporate, whether it's corporate America or anywhere in the world, it is not easy to carve out a way that works for you inside those environments. But I do love what you're saying about first and foremost, to be able to do that, you do kind of have to start with being clear about what you enjoy and what you do love. Because if you don't start there, then whether you're out there on your own or not, you're going to be blindsided, really. So, I mean, this has obviously got a lot to do with your journey, no doubt. This passion that you've got with alternative modalities and a lot of stuff. But is this always been a driver for you? Like, have you ever been inside it? Like, did you get into a corporate at some point? And like, what is the journey from that 13-year-old to this been like?
Yeah, I got into that corporate role. I got into just I think they made me wear pantyhose during an internship once.
Everybody laughs. Oh my God, were you serious?
I'm so serious. I remember this moment. It was a core memory. I think, okay, how old was I? I was 16 maybe. And I was at my mom's big corporate health insurance company. She got me a job, in corporate America. My parents, really wanted me to be this business professional, and they were both in the business world, and it just wasn't something that was for me. But they're trying to put a square peg into a round hole, and here I was, and I just kept getting in trouble for not wearing these pantyhose. And then this was the day that it was just too much, and I was getting written up. And during this, I was trying to get tickets to a concert to Fish the Band at Red Rocks in Morrison, Colorado. I remember I'm 17 years old, and I think this. First of all, why does this woman like her job? Like, she's in charge of this 17-year-old that does not care that she's going to wear pantyhose, and it's this woman's life to make sure that this 17-year-old does for the 30 days that she's going to be working here. And I just remember thinking, I don't care what happens to me in this job. I'm going to get these fish tickets. And that I knew then and there, like, this is just not for me. The pantyhose aren't for me. Corporate America is not for me. And that was the that was the only time that I ever towed into corporate America, and it was enough.
So you telling me you ended up having to wear the pantyhose just to get the tickets, or how did you get the tickets? I'm imagining you did get.
No, I just got written up. She was just like, really just, I need to talk to you. And I just thought, I need to get these tickets. And the fact that I didn't wear pantyhose today just cannot be that important. This is also for a frame of reference. Why was I not obligating to this corporate rule, the standard? And I'm going to tell you, because if I don't know how hot it is in Australia, but this is Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is a very humid location. And this is the middle of summer. And I don't know if you know what that feels like. This was back in the day where they didn't have just the, comfortable one leg pantyhose. You had to do the whole thing and just seal it all up. And, for me at 17, it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, so I knew, listen, I'm not good at this rules and standards book. And I also feel like I don't want to do this. I feel like that to this day. I'll go to a business conference. I might be the only one in jeans. And you know what? That's okay for me. Sometimes people will show up and they'll probably see me and think, oh my gosh, or whatever. Or maybe I'm uncomfortable when I walk in a room for a minute. But then I remind myself, no, this is like I'm on paper the CEO of a not-for-profit and two retail stores, and without a college degree, and these jeans were probably the same price as that man's suit pants, and I am so comfortable in my skin with who I am. I think it's so important to teach kids, like, you can still be who you are and do whatever you want to do. And if you don't fit into this person's box, that's okay. That just means that there's a different box for you somewhere else. And if you need to create your own box because that's where you need to be, then create your own box. So, um, yeah, that's I pretty much my first business. Everyone told me, people that love me tell me often, don't do that. And it's for legitimate reasons, and that you would tell someone, don't do that. I am just not a normal person that listens to somebody telling me don't do that. And as a result of that, I've done everything I ever wanted to do. I had no money starting my first retail business. I get this question a lot because when you're sitting before somebody and saying, this is what you have to do, or this is the road that I can see for you. And they want to give you all the list of excuses of just, oh, I can't do this because of this, this, and this. And that's just not something I ever thought of. I had no money when I started my first retail business, and everybody was throwing away all the contents of their home because we had flooded recently and people's homes were getting redone in our town. And I took the opportunity to get really cool reclaimed wood. I just dove into these dumpsters, and it was the feature walls in my first store was this pallet wood. And that was just from being in design and having done that before in my own space when I had no money to change the backsplash of the kitchen.
Mhm.
And my husband said, if you can do it for free, you can do it. And he went on a 24-hour shift to his firehouse, and he came home, and there was a new kitchen. There was all these boards for a new kitchen backsplash. I said, hey, I need you to help me cut all these down. And he said, where did this come from? And I said, it was free. And he said, where did it come from? I said, just help me cut this. And we did our whole new kitchen backsplash. It cost me $0. And a couple months later, the holidays rolled around, and he went upstairs to the attic to get out our Christmas tree, and he saw that I'd pulled the attic floor out. And he's like, at that point, we just, we
Yes,
just kind of
God.
laughed and just thought, wow, this girl will do it. She'll get to do anything to get it done. So, yeah,
Yes.
I called, and friends, hey, are you throwing any light fixtures away? I know you're redoing your house, and just piecemealed everything to make it happen. And I didn't look up anything. I didn't write a business plan. I knew I wasn't going to approach a bank. The last thing you kind of want to do in business is involve other people with their money. Um, that's my best advice to people. It sounds like it's just easier to go get other people's money, but it's not, because there's a cost associated to that, and you're giving part of yourself. And if you want it to be your own business, you just have to figure out how to hustle for yourself.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rewind the clock a little bit, unexpectedly, actually. But as you were talking then about I guess what's very obvious is, when your husband said to you, "You just will do anything." It's like, oh, you will do whatever it takes to make it work, right? And I have a question for you about growing up as a kid, and the reason I'm asking is because one of the things that I know, just in the context of business, right? So I'll jump to business and then I'll bring it back to your upbringing. In the context of business, what I know to be true, when we accelerate growth and when we're successful, it's usually because there's some very solid foundations. Like when you build a house, if you're going to put the walls up on a house, you've got to have very solid concrete framing, like whatever the foundations are, have to be very solid. Very good analogy, right? So then as a human being, what I know to be true is the same, that though what seems a pattern is that those who seem to be very similar to you, they're just going to do whatever it takes. Like, well, too bad about them because this is how I'm going to go. That's like almost a little bit more fearless. In fact, my youngest son is like like that. Right? He's like fearless. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's got some solid foundations. Like he really feels really well supported by he's got mum and dad. There hasn't been, nothing like that. So he's pretty solid. And it came up for me because I noticed the reverse for myself. I'm the fucking opposite, just so you know. So when you were sharing even about how you go out in the world and screw them, I'm just going to, I'm like, oh my God, that was my biggest mistake. I spent so much, like 20 years of my life attempting to fit into the box, right? But now I see why, because when I grew up, it was the opposite. It was chaos for me, chaos. So I was stripped from my mother when I was born. So my mother had to fight for me at 16 to get me back because the government at the time had a law that if you fell pregnant out of wedlock, they would force adopt you. So I was put up for adoption at 4 weeks old, and then she fought for me. But Angela, she was 16. So then I spent the next 5 years of my life being raised by 16, 17, 18-year-old girls. Girls, could you imagine? I mean, I look at my daughter who's now 15 and I imagine her with her three mates at 17 raising a 2-year-old. I'm like, it is no goddamn wonder I have so much chaos and instant drivenness to try to keep the foundations firm. But so that brings me to you and your upbringing. What was your upbringing like? I know I
Oh
put you on the
man.
spot, right?
All right, all right, all right. Let me,
It just
I always like to focus on the positive,
yes.
always like to start in. First of all, I want to say to everybody, I am an authentic person. So when you ask me a question, I'm going to answer you honestly. And I feel like it's important when somebody's sitting here and they're thinking, oh, and they're associating with me through my story. And at the end of the day, my story is to bring people hope, that I can do. When I tell you I'm a regular girl, I'm a regular girl. And you can do this too. I don't have any superpowers. And as part of that, I grew up with, I love my mother and father so much. They're so influential to me. My mother is an immigrant. She taught me, all about the American dream and what she came from post World War II. Um, Poland, that turned into Germany. And we had relatives, when the Berlin Wall came down, that meant something to our family directly. So she taught me about what I didn't know and what the opportunity of me just growing up in this country meant and what it meant for my grandfather when they came here. And he started with nothing and he built a foundation. He built a business with his own hands. He was an upholsterer, and the couches that you sit on in my parents' home to this day are from that man. And my father was given away as a child, to teen pregnancy, I believe, and just kind of a sign of the times, when the mother-in-law came in too hard and involved herself in the early marriages, and then the husband, just was too weak to break free. And unfortunately, my father was child of circumstance with that, and ended up, um, you know, feeling given away for his life, how could you not as a child? And so they taught me hard work, they taught me perseverance, they taught me prosperity, they taught me the American dream, and they taught me not to quit, and they provided for me access to education and what they thought was important, um, as far as what we were doing on Sundays and whatnot, and all of that. At the end of the day, though, a little bit of what we were doing on Sundays was confusing to me, because I grew up with a child of alcoholics that were using alcohol as the socially acceptable tool to get through the things that happened during World War II and Poland, and the things that happened, coming over here as an immigrant, and then the things that happened as being a child of alcoholics that adopt you, and you've been given away and having felt all those emotions, and at the end of the day, that's how that experience, all of it, not only built my retail businesses, but then built my not-for-profit
Mm,
for me to be able to show people other tools that I learned to break um, those, ancestral tools, that are coming down with that. We came, the cycle of alcoholics didn't start with my parents and our family, but it ended with me.
mm,
So,
mm,
and all of that's part of my journey. So yeah,
mm.
my upbringing was privileged and difficult, and it was full of everything that built me to be the human that I am today.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I do get the world of it. It's interesting how, I think people like us, Angela, who go through that journey and come out the other end, we can safely say at the end of it, that we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that. That journey brings a lot of healing, in the healing of gratitude and the forgiveness of self and the forgiveness of others. And I certainly don't know if this was the case for you, but I'm interested to know whether it was. But certainly for me, the biggest turning point, because like you, the alcoholism ends with you. With me, the forced removal of your children and abuse ends with me. So, because I'm, as a stolen generation woman, Aboriginal, we were forcibly taken out of our communities. I'm the first woman in 5 generations, actually, to not have my children removed, right? So, but like you, my abuse and that kind of behavior stops with me, right? So I really honor and respect where you're at, and what I know to be true about a journey, to be in a place like that, and what it takes. And it's not an easy road. So firstly, for me, I know one of the major turning points. It's interesting how these moments never leave you. I will never forget it, sitting on my back porch on my chair, and it was a really bright sunny day, and I was in the middle of one of the biggest fucking shitstorms of my life, and I'd gotten a letter from my former partner threatening to take my children off me. Right, here we are in 2022. It's 22, right? And now, and suddenly I'm confronted as a generational woman who has 5 generations behind me who did have their children stripped off them. And I'm dealing with this. I'm like, how does that make sense? There is nothing about me in my life, my health, like nothing that warrants it, right? But in that moment, I rang a very dear friend of mine, and she said, Kylie, forgiveness. It's like, what? She's like, you need to forgive yourself. I'm like, what? She's like, look, you're only having the reaction to that because there's something for you who you became for yourself. And that little girl that decided she had to be a certain way got trapped in a set of behaviors. There was a time that for yourself, you need to forgive that girl and let her know she did the best that she ever could. And I was like, wow. And I was immediately transported to when I was 12 and I was sexually assaulted. And I had blamed myself for being in a place that I never should have been in, right? Because as a 12-year-old, you should not be hanging out at the local beach getting yourself drunk. Uh-huh. And so I was like, oh. But then that moment, Angela, of that second of looking at myself and forgiving myself for ending up in that situation changed everything for me. It was a turning point where what came next was this journey of, I don't know, stripping out all the old shit and becoming centered in who I was. And it's taken the last 2 years to be in a place now where, believe it again, I just got another letter. Oh, when oh, you don't deserve to have, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Not on my watch. That ain't happening. So
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, you've done a lot, and I know even the business that you're doing now has a lot to do with a lot of healing modalities. But we did talk a lot about that in last week's episode. But I know for you, you ended up doing that a lot for yourself too, right? And it seems to be very centered on your strength. Really, is your commitment to healing.
yeah, that's been something that's it's actually come you're telling the story about what you're going through. I went through that too. I had an ex-husband prior to marrying my husband, and we when we're coming from our situations, I love my parents, and I've got a relationship with both of them to this day, and we've weathered it all. But when you're going through these times, you're choosing kind of what's familiar to you. And I had a bad choice when I was trying to escape one situation, and I got into another bad situation. I married this man, and he kind of tortured me. So kudos to getting through, because when something like that's used against you and you're confronting everything from your childhood as a mother, especially when it's somebody who's trying to take your power away and knows all the buttons to push. It can be the opportunity for an incredibly healing and empowering moment that you described, the second time you received those papers, and kind of everything that I've ever gone through, I've been able to review in that manner as kind of like the battle. And the battle might be won or lost at that level, but then there's like the war is me.
Yeah.
It's what I've become, and what I fought to win. And and some of the battles are ugly, but they're all for whatever. They're for information, they're for learning. I mean, any great war general is going to tell you that they specific battles help them win the war, and where it helped them strategize to win. So if you
Mhm.
can think about life that way, life isn't all sunshine and butterflies. And
Mm.
I think about like these things that you go through as training, for the real work. That what is the real work? It's
Mhm.
discover that you're making your own self miserable, with your story about everything that compounded on you. And part of healing is letting go
Yeah.
of that, all of that, and realizing that, people hate to hear this, but I love to say it, like, this happened for me,
Mm.
not to me.
Yes.
And when you can frame that out, it kind of lets it help you heal. I had that going through my own healing experience, where I turned to Western medicine, and I thought, give me a diagnosis, give me a prescription for 30 days, and we'll see on the other side. And when that when I had to figure out that it was going to take more than that, um, then I started learning. The average person doesn't figure this road through. They don't figure out how to get out from under these. I had one prescription that was $7,000 a month for a 30-day supply, and I was married to a firefighter. And I was just a small business owner, and we didn't have that kind of money. And if you're uh, so what happened for me, I became bedridden. And at the time, I victimized myself so much. I thought, why is this happening to me? And it was one of the greatest gifts ever, because it allowed me to see that it doesn't matter if I have my store memorized from head to toe, and that I've placed everything on the shelf, and that I can walk in and say, this is there, and that this is the right way
Mm.
to merchandise. And I started giving things to other people to do.
Mm.
And then it empowered them. And now the person that I taught how to merchandise is trying to figure out right now, and she'll figure it out, but how to buy my store from me.
Mm. Mhm.
So, and then that'll be her legacy to carry through. So,
Mm.
if you can learn to let go of these empires too, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I am no clue. When people ask me say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Kids tell me that because it's so much pressure today, especially in the States. If you go to college, you need to check a box for a major. And if they made me do that going into college, first of all, I changed my major 5 times and then I bailed my senior year to come marry a New York City firefighter. Well, actually to marry a lifeguard. But he ended up being a firefighter, lifeguard construction worker. And I just never finished. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. But they make you lock that in now. And I think that's crazy. Your brain isn't even fully developed when they're asking you to check that box. And I don't know if my brain's not fully developed yet or what, but I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Sounds like you're right in it. Look, before we dissipate here today, I just want to jump back briefly to give you, I share a little bit about some of the latest things that you're now at work on, and with the fund in particular. Where you are really bringing in the power of storytelling, from what I believe. I mean, what's happening there right now?
Well, right now we are working on a documentary, I believe. It started as just we're doing some transformation stories, so I think it's an evolving project. And we just we took the camera crew through our process with um, people that are allowed to speak. We service both active and retired first responders. For lots of reasons, but it's a little bit different than organizations who are only servicing retired people. So a lot of people that go through our program, you know, more than half of the people that go through our program will never be able to comfortably speak about what they've done. But you will be able to comfortably walk around the street knowing that that man or woman is a first responder in our community, at the level that they are healed and whole. Especially compared to where they were before they started. So the issue for us is that departments don't have the proper protocols to deal with these mental health issues for our first responders. And we are men and women. We are not machines, and we are asked to just forget and normalize situations that are not forgettable, and they are not able to be normalized, and um, they get compartmentalized and they can come out in other things. And when people reach the end of their rope and they're still reaching for tools like drugs or alcohol or these other self-soothing methods that they've learned, or prescriptions that just aren't working for them and they're still feeling like eating a gun, that's kind of when we meet them and it's on their worst day. And I tell people all the time, and I might have said it the first time we met, you can give anybody psychedelics, and it's not the psychedelics that are healing, because so many people would be healed by the time they got out of college. I certainly would have been totally healed, and I was a mess when at that time in my life. So it's the psychedelics are just inviting the opportunity for the person to begin to accept the opportunity for self-love, number one, and for the allowance of healing in their life. And they can be a beautiful tool that that scientific research shows takes care of a lot of the things that we have been unable to take care of in our lives, such as treatment-resistant depression and just and suicidal ideations, addictions, traumatic brain injuries. We've got a study, there's a study out there on that. So organizations are working so hard on the back end to bring forth scientific studies and normalization. And while they're doing that, the 343 Fund is working really hard to get gateways of access, at least on the psychedelic grant end, for these people, because that's how I healed. And I didn't get there, from day one, or I tried everything and failed first. And my choices were an $80,000 fever in Germany that could potentially kill me, or to try psychedelic treatment. To be honest, the one that I was trying, that could potentially kill me. But we find that when these people find service providers that are safe with the right medical support and access, we keep people from having to do living room psychedelic journeys that can be incredibly dangerous with some of these modalities, and then provide that integration support that is necessary to heal the person on the whole pre and post psychedelic journey. So that's my life passion as of the moment, and my goal with any organization, with any business that I'm ever doing, is this business has got to exist. If you do anything, it needs to exist long before and after, well, long after I'm dead. I need this to exist outside of me. So I'm building something right now, and I don't know what I'm going to be building, in the future, but right now it's the Casey Skudin 343 Fund. And we have a goal of, we want to help 1,000 first responders a year by giving them access to psychedelic grants and psychedelic support pre and post journey with our organization. So if anyone's interested, they can head on over to the Casey Skudin 343fund.org. I think it's 343fund.org. And you can click grant request, or you can click donate to get involved. 100% of our donations go directly to access, or to give a first responder access in either the United States or Canada. Hey, I'm not supposed to come into Australia too, but right now we're working in the United States and Canada, but I'll come to Australia, mate.
Yeah.
So
Look, I can't wait. So thank you so much for joining me. Of course, we will put all the details into the show notes for people to click through to that directly. And I just really today want to thank you for coming back and sharing more about what's behind why you do what you do, what you love doing what you do. I mean, there's so many beautiful lessons for so many of us inside of your contribution today. So thank you so much.
thanks. I just really have always liked to help, to be honest with you. And if any way I can help anybody, especially become independent, there's no better feeling. So yeah.
It's great.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me on.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Kylie.
Thank you. And
Okay, I'm glad we finally got it right. Treya's going to be so proud.
good. Well, we're going to have you out from, that's next week, I believe. Your first episode, I think, is next week. So,
oh, great. Okay, great.
I think that's it. I'll double check and shoot you that email to confirm, because I'm pretty sure it is. And so what we'll be able to do now is wrap it up as a double series. So then this one will wrap out for the following week. So I'll shoot you an email to let you know, and then you'll get an email with all the details of the files and everything like that as well.
Okay, great. I appreciate you. Do you need anything from my end?
I don't think so. I think you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Yes, I do. A photo. We need, in order to publish the content out, your photo gets included on our YouTube artwork, all the artwork that goes with it. So anything you can send me that has photographs that you're okay for us to use, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll get you that. I have a couple that I think I'll have Jill send you. I'll send one over.
Okay, great.
No problem.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Kylie.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know what? I've got I have a file of